and see. Okay, so welcome to our webinar about critical analysis. In fact, this is the second part of the webinars about critical analysis. I don't know if you have checked the first part, which is, if you have not do it, I invite you to check it, because it has a lot of concepts and ideas and exercises that can help you to understand not only what critical analysis is, but also why it is so important. Regardless of that, I'm going to make a kind of summary today about those ideas again. So let's begin with this quote, which emphasizes the importance of making critical analysis part of our lives and the value it can have for future generations. When you read it, you can see how important it is to learn to think about what the information that get to us, and how we should evaluate it to get conclusions, and conclusions that can be supported by good evidence, and then if you need to disagree with it or to agree with it. That will make our society a better place, because each one of us can act according to our own will, and after analyzing what we read or what we have been told. So we don't, politicians and that kind of people will have some problems to do their job. Okay, the focus for today is that we will discuss critical analysis within a thesis environment and how you can prepare yourself to do it. So lawyers, you too, Marky, I'm sorry, I forgot, you are a lawyer too. Last week, we talked about critical analysis, the basics of critical analysis, and also how to use it, and especially practice it using daily life situations. Today, we are going to focus on, basically, on thesis and dissertations. So, if anyone, I don't know if Mark was last week, but I don't know if he did the exercise. I don't know if Miriam has checked the first part and did the exercises, but in case that you have done the exercises of last week, and if you want to share your experience, that will be a good moment to do it, and we can use these questions in order to focus that exchange. Okay, so Mark, you didn't, and I suppose Miriam didn't either, so don't worry. What I want you, if you have not done those exercises yet, is that when you do them, you after you finish doing them, you ask yourself this question: what was the most clear point? What was the least clear point? What would you like to say about experience? And if you can think about any specific exercises that you want to talk about. You can do it just for you, or if you want to share this, you can also share it at our community bulletin, or if you want to share it with me, just email me, and we can discuss this, or you can email me either to this one, or to either of these ones, okay? If you want to share their experience with me, or if you have any question that you want to ask. Okay, so let's continue. And once again, let's state the main idea behind the term critical analysis. When we think about critical analysis, we think about interpretation. Okay? Interpretation means that you try to look for the explanation of what you are reading or what you are witnessing in case of a situation that you are seeing. But in a thesis or a dissertation, when we talk about critical analysis, that interpretation implies summarize and evaluate. Those two words. Please keep them in your mind. Summarize and evaluate. Therefore, you have to perform actions in two different levels. Summarize the main ideas of the work you are working with, and then evaluate their validity and consistency in terms of both the internal aspect of the work and its possible relationship to your own work. How significant that work may be for you, not only because it is on your same line of thought, but also for how much it may challenge your point of view. So be prepared to do critical analysis, and when you do that, you have to work on those two levels. Summarize main ideas and evaluate validity and consistency. Okay? So, to do that, you need to perform the actions stated in the slide, which require reflection and critical thinking. By the way, there is the recording of one webinar that I did about critical thinking. In fact, two of them. So if you want, you can look for that part and see what is behind critical thinking. So to do critical analysis, you have to do this. The thing, look at those actions and check that all of them implies reflection, thinking. Mark says, I'm going to try to get PH mentality to understand a deviate reality. You know, that's a very good idea, because if you develop a PhD mentality, you will be able to understand things that are very, very far from your usual environment. And it's not because you are going to be a kind of genius, but because you are going to develop a way to face things, face problems, approach problems in an organized and thoughtful way. So that's not a bad idea, my dear. So your critical analysis should include the elements mentioned in this slide. Look at the words in red, main ideas of finding, reasons, and links and points of view, and things the fails to address. Those elements reflect the actions of, again, summarizing and evaluating. Summarizing and evaluating. That's what we are working with when performing critical analysis. And why are you expected to do all those tasks? Convincing people is the objective, and to do it, you need more than enthusiasm and repetition of ideas. You have to convince people, and people expect you to provide evidence that supports your argument. You cannot convince people only because you are nice or you are good looking and your ideas are interesting. It's not just a matter of being interesting, it's a matter of have valid, strong arguments. People are going to do critical analysis on your work, beginning by your supervisors. And therefore, the more consistent and supported your work is, the more convincing it will be. That's why critical analysis is important. And where should you do critical analysis? Well, literature review and the discussion chapter are the parts of the thesis or dissertation where critical analysis should be emphasized. However, that does not mean it is not necessary throughout the whole thesis, no? Whenever a decision for a specific element is done, a critical analysis of the options and reasons to choose is needed. Decision on, for example, research problems or questions. Why do you choose to work with that problem and not another one? Why do you have to answer those research questions? Or why do you choose that research design? Or how do you decide it? Or why do you decide to use that population and sample or perform that specific data analysis? All of those decisions throughout the whole thesis must be critically supported. Okay, so you have to discuss them, discuss the reason why you did what you did, and also you have to provide evidence for that. So, as we say in the previous webinar, we discussed how to perform critical analysis in daily life situations. Today, we will focus on how to do it in a thesis of dissertation. Critical analysis on both types of contexts require the same basic elements, okay? Input and courses of action. The difference is on their complexity. Input in research has more concepts and variables involved, while courses of action focus on more specific and well-defined information. That's the difference. The same elements with different complexity according to the context that you are working with. So, like with daily life, two main courses of action may be used: points to pay attention to and questions to ask. The points you need to pay attention to are, of course, the pivotal elements of a research study: the problem, the research questions, the theory that can explain the problem and its solution, and the methodology needed to gather valid information to answer the research questions and solve the problem or deepen your understanding, okay, of it. Of course, the relationship between each one of those elements and your own study is also required to perform the critical analysis of a work. Okay? So you pay attention to each one of those pivotal elements and you evaluate, you not only summarize them, but also evaluate how they were done by the author of the work that you're working with. But you also do critical analysis establishing the relationship between each one of those elements and your own study. So, Mark, you are talking about artificial intelligence. I will not have to prove, but I will put a lot of fear into any or every chair of whoever sits to say so. Oh, what a kind of lawyer are you going to be, my dear? Okay, so in this webinar, we are going to present two examples of courses of action based on questions that can be applied to thesis. Last week, we just one example of questions to ask. Today, we are going to use two examples of questions to ask. Let's look at this, the first one. If you check those questions, you will see that they are based on establishing if the author of the analyzed article or study performed enough critical analysis to convince you of the validity and consistency of his or her work. So those questions focus on how much the analyzed work reflects summary and evaluation. So you are doing critical analysis of a work taking into account how well the author did critical analysis on the literature upon his or her work is based on. It's a different way of approaching questions because you perform critical analysis establishing how well the author did the correspondent critical analysis to support his or her work. Is that clear, or do you think that I need to explain it a little more, Mark and Miriam? Nope. Nope. Okay. So let's go to see another set of questions to ask. This second set has more specific questions focused on summarizing and evaluating the pivotal elements of the analyzed study. Look at them. Yes, Miriam? What do you say that I have to excuse you? Any problem? Okay. Okay, so if you check those questions, you will see that they look for more detailed answers than the previous course of action. But at the end, the goal is the same. Perform critical analysis in such a way that people can be convinced of the validity and consistency of the arguments exposed. Okay? So check those two things. Of course, in any course of action that we presented today, the same words emerge: summarize and evaluate, and also validity and consistency. Those four words must be on your mind when you are performing critical analysis. Why? Because, we summarize the main ideas of a work and evaluate their validity and consistency as a way of building a piece of critical analysis that may convince people of our point of view, and also that may be used to develop our own study. So, at the end, what course you should use is just a matter of choosing the one you are more comfortable with. Okay? It's just a matter of choosing according to your cognitive and learning style. Okay, so these are the points I tried to clarify for you today, and I hope I have been successful on that task. That refers specifically to the basic of critical analysis, what you are expected to do, why you are expected to do that, and I think that the examples of courses of action could be a good tool for you to get used to do critical analysis. So, next step. As I said before, critical analysis, like critical thinking, requires practice. However, it's not the classical practice of repeating context. It is practice of reflecting, establishing ideas and relationships, looking for implicit information, pondering different variables and relationships to determine significance, etc. As you can see, that practice is anything but simple. There are too many things to pay attention to. That's why you need to practice. The more you practice, the more able you will be to see variables, relationship, and significance involved. Think of it as a, let's call it, reflective practice, which we always suppose a challenge for you, because most information and relationship will be implicit, and unexpected things may emerge at each step. Therefore, the goal is on developing your skills to work with information, being ready to face the challenges. It's not to learn a recipe, but to develop a set of skills that can be used at different contexts. And that, my dears, what a task is. Oh, Mark, you say that to you is not so hard, so you are a very lucky man, and what you have to practice is to make it deeper, to go deeper into getting into relationship, into ideas, into patterns that you have to identify. So, I mean, despite the fact that it is not hard for you, you can improve it. So you say that the first thing that you have to do is listen, yeah, or reading, depending on the context that you are working with, right? So I wrote this exercise to help you begin your practice and achieve your goals. This exercise you can use over and over again, because the input, and perhaps if you choose that, the course of action will be different each time. Please be aware when I say use it to create an annotated bibliography. Please be aware that annotated bibliography is characterized for including, beside the basic author and publication information, a summary of main ideas, strengths and weaknesses, significance for your study, and something that you will find very, very useful is to write down where you think you can use that information. And all those pieces of information is what you need, what you use to perform critical analysis in your own study. Therefore, writing down an annotated bibliography is a way of maximizing the time and effort you devote to register information for your thesis. So get used to create annotated bibliography instead of a simple bibliography, because in that way you will save a lot of time and effort, and you will be able to have all the information that you need to do critical analysis just on the database that you create. Miriam, in my case, I continue to study and write about my investigation and help to the students. Yeah, you know, that's usually writing down a thesis or any study is an ongoing task. You always continue doing it, improving it, and trying to create bridges between your work and the field of a study. And something that is very important is if you are interested in applying what you are studying, what you are creating. So that's a part of our studies that we need to improve and get used to, because when you get, for instance, when you get your PhD degree or your doctoral degree, you become you become a scholar, and a scholar has always been interested in helping other researchers to perform their studies. So here, once again, I have this template for you that you can use in order to write down your examples of critical analysis. But approach this template just as a guide to write down the critical analysis. But feel free to adapt it so as to reflect your process of thinking critically better, okay? So this is just a guide that could be very useful, but feel free to change it in order to make it more useful for you. Oh, Nikki, you are right now arriving, but now I have time in order to answer your question. Nikki, if you want me to give you any idea about what we have talked today, I will be happy to do it. Miriam, if you want to ask any question, and my dear Mark, you know that I'm always ready to listen to your ideas. So, I'm all yours. Nikki, by the way, have you looked at the previous webinar on critical analysis? Oh no, you have the same problem like me, Adrian. Let me tell you. Let's do something. I'm going to stop the recording and go back so Nikki and Adrian can have a good idea of what is happening, because I have the same problem with this since in my country we don't change time. So, okay, so let me stop recording. Okay. And now